Let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, our preeminent Shiksha Guru, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Itti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so what did we see in the previous class? Which demon was killed?
Putana.
Putana. Putana was the first demon that Krishna killed. So what does Putana represent? What anartha does Putana represent?
Demon as a mother, no?
Yeah, she came as a mother. So what is the anartha that it represents?
Anarth is like she tried to kill the god himself.
Child killing.
Okay.
Of the 5 sins, child killing.
Okay. Anybody else wants to try?
Pseudo Guru.
The pseudo guru or the false guru. So what's the connection between false guru and Putana? How do we connect? What did Putana do and what does a false guru do? Yes, Galaxy A32 has raised the hand. I don't know who.
It's me, Mataji. Shruti Priya.
Shruti Priya Madhuri.
I don't know if I have the right to be here, but I saw it in your WhatsApp state, so I connected.
No, of course, this is open for all, Mataji. It's our pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Mataji. The difference is that the real Guru, he gives example with his own acts and actions and words. So the other one is just talking, and the real guru is giving us example with his own behavior.
Okay, very nice. So Putana and the bogus guru, how we connect these two? Because we discussed how each demon represents an anartha. So what is the pseudo guru and Putana have in common?
It's
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mahi.
So Putana like changed her external appearance and presented herself like a very like presentable manner. So bogus guru or pseudo gurus also like they have very like good oratory speeches. They give they have oratory skills. So might be people can get attracted to them.
Yes.
So by their oratory skills, they try to attract the people.
Yes,
So
exactly.
maybe that's,
Yes. So a bogus guru also changes his externals. He may wear orange clothes, or he may, present himself. Like he may have a lot of beads or garlands around him, and he may present himself as a devotee, but that's not the real him. So Putana also, she was a demon, but she changed her external appearance to a very attractive form. So she was so attractive that even the damsels of heaven, even the apsaras, their beauty was nothing compared to the beauty of Putana we were discussing in the previous class. And one more point we discussed about this in the previous class, which was Putana misused a very, very sacred relationship of the mother and the child. And she gave milk, but she gave poison milk to the child. So in the same way, the guru is making the wrong use of the sacred relationship between a guru and a disciple. And he's also rendering knowledge. There it was poison milk, and here he's rendering contaminated knowledge. So this is another connection, parallel we can draw between Putana and the bogus guru. So this is the anartha. Putana represents the anartha of the bogus guru. One thing we did not discuss about Putana in the previous class, and I would like to discuss it, is what was Putana in her previous lifetime. So we want to read about that today. So Sri Hari Radha Mataji, you said you want to read today, right?
Yes, Mataji, if possible.
Okay, please.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Putna's previous life. She was the sister of Bali, the Daitya demon, who had conquered all the gods. When Vamana approached Bali, she fell in love with him. What a wonderful boy! I wish I was his mother. But when she saw how he manipulated Bali and stole everything from their family, her feelings turned to hatred. I wish I could kill that boy. When Vishnu Vamana later appeared as Krishna, she became Putna, who tried to kill baby Krishna by playing the role of his mother, poisoning her breast milk. When Krishna sucked out her pran through her breast, she died but did not attain the same type of liberation most enemies of Krishna attain. Most enemies relinquish their ego entirely and become homogeneous within consciousness itself, Brahman. But Putna instead developed a bhakti ego and attained thereby a personal form in Krishna Leela as one of his wet nurses. Because their initial primary feelings was one of affection for him, Krishna held to this and disregarded her secondary later feeling of anger over her gratitude treatment of Bali. This shows that Krishna is not flawed by pride, anger, or unforgiveness.
So, Putana in her previous life was actually the daughter of Bali Maharaj. When Vamana Dev came, initially she felt that this is such a wonderful boy, because remember, Vamana is a dwarf. So she had the desire that I wish I was his mother. But immediately when Vamana took everything away from Bali, she had the desire to kill him. So Krishna is only reciprocating with the desire of Bali's sister. She was a sister of Bali. Therefore, Putana was liberated. Okay. So this is Putana in her previous life. Okay, so we will go to today's class. Today we will be reading the next chapter. Today's chapter is titled Chapter 7, The Salvation of Trinavarta. In this particular session, this particular chapter, we will be seeing Krishna killing two demons, Shakatasura and Trinavarta. Shakatasura was actually a ghost demon who took shelter of a cart. So Shakat means cart and Asura means demon. Therefore, Shakatasura, the cart demon, and Trinavarta, the whirlwind demon. So we know that the demons have mystic powers and they can take different forms. So like that, Shakatasura took he took shelter of the cart, and Trinavarta, you see the upper part of his body is that of like a human being, but the lower part of the body was like a whirlwind. So we will see how Krishna killed these two demons in today's session. Let's read.
The supreme personality of Godhead Krishna is always full with six opulences, namely complete wealth, complete strength, complete fame, complete knowledge, complete beauty, and complete renunciation. The Lord appears in different complete internal forms of incarnation. The conditioned soul has immense opportunity to hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord in these different incarnations. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam, the pastimes and activities of the Lord are not material, they are beyond the material conception, and the conditioned soul can benefit by hearing such uncommon activities. Hearing is an opportunity to associate with the Lord. To hear his activities is to evolve one's transcendental nature simply by hearing. The conditioned soul has a natural aptitude to hear something about other conditioned souls in the form of fiction, drama, and novel. That inclination to hear something about others may be utilized in hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Then one can immediately evolve his transcendental nature. Krishna's pastimes are not only beautiful, they are also very pleasing to the mind. Hare Krishna.
So Janma, Karma, Chame, Divyam. Krishna's birth, his pastimes are all Divyam. They are all transcendental. The more we hear about the pastimes of Krishna, the more we are purified, the more we are attracted to him, because they are very pleasing to the mind. Therefore, even if we read this several million and trillion and quadrillion times over and over again, still they are very pleasing. Material knowledge is not like that. Once you read a book, once you read a magazine, once you read a novel, then you don't want to go back and read it again. But see, Krishna's pastimes, over the years, we hear so many times, but still we are not tired of listening to these stories. So that's why it is Divyam. Next.
If someone takes advantage of hearing the pastimes of the Lord, the material contamination of dust accumulated in the heart due to long association with material nature can be immediately cleansed. Lord Chaitanya also instructed that simple by hearing the transcendental name of the Lord Krishna can one can cleanse the heart of all material contamination. There are different processes for self-realization, but this process of devotional service, of which hearing is the most important function, when adopted by any conditioned soul, will automatically cleanse him of the material contamination and enable him to realize his real constitutional position. Conditioned life is due to this contamination only, and as soon as it is cleared off, the then naturally the dormant function of the living entity rendering service to the Lord awakens. By developing his internal relationship with the Supreme Lord, one becomes eligible to create friendship with the devotees. Maharaj Parishad recommended from practical experience that everyone try to hear about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. This Krishna treatise is meant for that purpose, and the reader may take advantage of it to attain the ultimate goal of human life. Hare Krishna.
So what is the most important of all the devotional services?
Hearing.
Yeah, Shravanam. The very first item is Shravanam. So hearing is the most important. Shravanam and Kirtanam. Actually, when we chant, we are automatically hearing. So when we chant the holy name, we are automatically hearing the holy name, and we are also chanting the holy name. So why should we hear about Krishna? So that we can cleanse ourselves of material contamination and we can realize the real constitutional position. What is the real constitutional position of the living entity, of us?
Servant of Krishna.
Servant of Krishna, eternal servant of Krishna. Okay. What do we mean by conditional life? Are we conditioned or are we liberated?
Condition.
Conditioned. So what do we mean by conditioned?
We forgot our real identity. We forgot our real identity, and we are serving our senses rather than serving the Lord, the Krishna.
Yes, we are conditioned by material nature. We have come under the influence of material nature. Therefore, when one is in Maya, then one is in the conditioned state. But when we cleanse ourselves of all impurities, then we can come to the liberated state. Next.
The Lord, out of his causeless mercy, descends to this material world and displays his activities just like an ordinary man. Unfortunately, the impersonalists or the atheistic class of men consider Krishna to be an ordinary man like themselves, and so they deride him. This is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself when he says, Avijnanati yavijanati mam mudha. The mudhas or rascals take Krishna to be an ordinary man or a slightly more powerful man out of their great misfortune. They cannot accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes such unfortunate person misrepresent themselves as incarnations of Krishna without referring to the authorized scriptures. Hare Krishna.
So just what we were discussing about bogus gurus, like that, there are also bogus people who claim, they don't only claim that they are gurus, but they actually claim that they are incarnations of Krishna. So this is the reason why many people are losing faith in religion. So why does the Lord descend to the material world? Out of his causeless mercy. So the Lord, he's completely independent. He's completely swarat. Nobody can force him to come. Nobody can say that, okay, now it's time for you to appear, so you have to appear. No, he appears out of his own free will. He appears out of his causeless mercy. He appears because he wants to appear. Nobody can say that, okay, now it's one day of the life of Brahma, and so therefore you have to descend. No, he's beyond any rules and regulations. He chooses to descend out of his causeless mercy. What do we mean by causeless mercy? The mercy does not have to have a reason. It's completely causeless. It's not that, okay, nobody can say, all right, Krishna, I have been doing so much devotional service, so therefore you have to give me my mercy. No, causeless mercy. He doesn't have to give us his mercy, but he gives it without any cause. So that's causeless mercy. Next.
When Krishna grew up a little more, he began to turn himself backside up. He did not merely lie down on his back, and another function was absorbed by Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's first birthday. They arranged for Krishna's birthday ceremony, which is still observed by all followers of the Vedic principles. Krishna's birthday ceremonies observed in India by all Hindus, irrespective irrespective of different sectarian views. All the cowherd men and women were invited to participate in the jubilant celebration. A nice band played, and the assembled people enjoyed it. All the learned Brahmins were invited, and they chanted Vedic hymns for the good fortune of Krishna. During the chanting of the Vedic hymns and playing of the bands, Krishna was bathed by Mother Yashoda. This bathing ceremony is technically called Abhishek. Even today, this is observed in all the temples of Vrindavan on Janmashtami day for the birthday anniversary of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so now as we discussed, there are two demons who are going to be killed today, Shakatasura and Trinavarta. In today's class, Shakatasura and Trinavarta. So Shakatasura was killed when Krishna was 3 months old, and at that time there was a ceremony that was held. And what had happened at that time, Krishna turned himself for the first time. So children, when they are very small, they can only lie down on the back, but at a certain stage, after 3-4 months, then they can flip, right? So this was the first time that Krishna was able to turn himself, and therefore there was a function that was observed. And Trinavarta was killed when Krishna was 1 year old. So Janmashtami was at that time it was not Janmashtami, but it was Krishna's first birthday. So there was another ceremony that was held at that time. So 3 months and 1 year.
On this occasion, Mother Yashoda arranged to distribute a large quantity of grain, and first-class cows decorated with golden ornaments were made ready to be given in charity to the learned, respectable Brahmins. Yashoda took her bath and dressed herself nicely, and taking child Krishna duly dressed and bathed on her lap, she sat down to hear the Vedic hymns chanted by the Brahmins. While Mother Yashoda was listening to the chanting of the Vedic hymns, the child appeared to be falling asleep, and therefore she very silently laid him down on the bed, being engaged in receiving all the friends, relatives, and residents of Vrindavan on the holy occasion. She forgot to feed the child milk. He was crying, being hungry, but Mother Yashoda could not hear him cry because of various noises. The child, however, became angry because he was hungry at his mother. He was hungry and his mother was not paying attention to him, so he lifted his legs and began to kick his lotus feet just like an ordinary child. Baby Krishna had been placed underneath a hand-driven cart, and while he was kicking his legs, he accidentally touched the wheel of the cart and it collapsed. Various kinds of utensils and dishes made of brass and other metals had been piled up in the hand cart, and they all fell down with a hitter and titter.
No, with a great noise. You missed one line.
The great noise. The wheel of the cart separated from the axle, and the spokes of the wheel were all broken and scattered. Hither and thither. Mother Yashoda and all the gopis, as well as Maharaj Nanda and the cowherd men, were astonished as to how the cart could have collapsed by itself. All the men and women who were assembled for the holy function crowded around and began to suggest how the cart might have collapsed. No one could ascertain the cause, but some small children who were as interested to play with baby Krishna informed the crowd that it was due to Krishna's striking his feet against the wheel. They assured the crowd that they had seen how it happened with their own eyes, and they strongly asserted the point. Some were listening to the statement of the small children, but others said, "How can you believe the statement of these children?" The cowherd men and women could not understand that the all powerful personality of Godhead was lying there as a baby and that he could do anything. Both the possible and impossible were in his power. Hare Krishna.
So what has happened now that Krishna has turned over for the first time, he's 3 months old, there is a ceremony that has been organized. Mother Yashoda has dressed up very nicely, and the brahmanas were invited, they were given charity, they are chanting Vedic hymns. And now Krishna is feeling sleepy. He appears to be falling asleep. So therefore Yashoda lays him down on the bed. And this bed is under a huge cart. On that cart, what is placed? There are huge utensils and dishes made of brass and metals, because all these dishes and utensils were used for that ceremony, on that occasion, right? So it is heavily loaded with all these big utensils and dishes, and Krishna is sleeping underneath there. And now Krishna is hungry, but because of the noise around, Yashoda is not able to hear him. So he begins to kick. Krishna begins to kick like an ordinary child. And then what happens? The cart, his legs touch the cart, and the cart completely collapses, isn't it? So the cart completely collapses. And so what happens? This demon, Shakatashura, who had taken shelter of that cart, because now the cart has been shattered, the demon was forced to fall on the ground. And what did everybody say? So now there is a huge sound, because all these big utensils have fallen suddenly from that huge cart. There is a huge sound, and everybody has gathered there, and they're all wondering how come this happened. And the small children who are playing there, they say that it was actually Krishna who did it. But then the adults are not, they say, how can Krishna do it? Such a small baby, how can he bring such a big cart that's so heavily loaded? How can he bring it crashing down? So they do not believe the children. So let's see a little bit more on this. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on this, and Prabhupada mentions it in this purport from the Bhagavatam. Let's read.
The Brahmanand Puran states that because
above the purport, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Hare Krishna, Mataji, are you there?
It's Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.7 purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has commented on this verse as follows. When Lord Krishna was of a very tender age, his hands and legs resembled soft new leaves, yet simply by touching the hard cart with his legs, he made the cart fall to pieces. It was quite possible for him to act in this way. And yet not exert himself very much. The Lord in his Vaman avatar had to extend his foot to the greatest height to penetrate the covering of the universe, and when the Lord killed the gigantic demon Hiranyakashipu, he had to assume the special bodily feature of Narasimha Dev. But in his Krishna Avtara, the Lord did not need to exert such energy. Therefore, Krishna tu Bhagwan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. In other incarnation, the Lord had to exert some energy according to the time and circumstances, but in this form he exhibited unlimited potency. Thus the hand cart collapsed, its joints broken, and all the metals, pots, and utensils scattered. The Vaishnava Toshani remarks that although the handcart was higher than the child could easily touch the wheel of the cart, and this was sufficient to send the demon down to the earth. The Lord simultaneously pushed the demon to the earth and superficially broke the heart cart. The Brahmanand Puran states that because of a heavy demon entered the cart's height, decreased. This this thus Krishna short by baby legs could touch the cart. Hare Krishna.
So say Krishna is only 3 months old. His legs, his hands are very, very tender, very, very soft. But yet they are so strong that it can bring this heavily loaded cart crashing down. So Krishna, he's soft. At the same time, he's very, very strong. Usually material calculation, when something is very soft, it cannot be strong. When something is really strong, it cannot be soft. But Krishna, of course, he's beyond any material calculations. And we see how Krishna does not have to exert himself for anything. He can effortlessly carry out the activities. So one may say, how was he able to reach out the wheel of the cart? Because he's only 3 months old and it's huge. So we have this explanation from the Brahman Purana that because this heavy demon had entered the cart's height decreased. So Krishna's short legs could easily reach out the cart and the cart came crashing down. This statement here, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, this is the mission statement actually of the Srimad Bhagavatam. If you want to just summarize in one line, it's this: Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So here we have some statements from the Garga Samhita. What happened to this Shakatasura? Let's read only the translation.
Text 11. Tatreva kamsa kala noditah uttaka chakniyo dityaha prabhajana tonach, I don't know this word, tonach saktam sa iti balasya murdhani paripatyitam pri Krishno pitam kila tatha pandrena padurena. Then when a demon named Uktach, who had been sent by the demon, comes and who had a body made of air, went to a cart and tried to make it fall on Krishna's head. Infant Krishna kicked the cart with the red sole of his foot. Text 12.
Can you just read, Mataji, just read the translation because of time factor. The Sanskrit can be read later when I share the PPT.
When the cart broke into pieces, the demon fell, leaving his body off air. He attained a pure spiritual body, and after respectfully bowing down before Lord Hari in a chariot pulled by 100 horses, went to the Lord's own abode of Golok.
So see, when Putana came to kill Krishna, we know that she had this demon body and she changed the form to be a very, very attractive one. And Putana was not able to kill Krishna. So now what has Kamsa done? He has sent somebody who has no gross body. He only has a subtle body because he's a ghost. Because Putana with her gross body was not able to kill Krishna. Now he has sent a ghost. So then, of course, even Shakatasura failed to kill Krishna. But what happened to Shakatasura after the cart broke? He attained a pure spiritual body. And then he bowed down to Lord Krishna. And then in a chariot pulled by 100 horses, he was sent to Golok. So this is what happened to Shakatasura. Next.
Okay. While the discussion was going on, baby Krishna cried without remonstration. Mother Yashoda picked the child up on her lap and called the learned Brahmins to chant holy Vedic hymns to counteract the evil spirits. At the same time, she allowed the baby to suck her breast. If a child sucks the mother's breast nicely, it is to be understood that he is out of all danger. After this, all the stronger cowherd men put the broken cart in order and all these scattered things were set up nicely as before. The Brahmins thereafter began to offer oblations to the sacrificial fire with the yogurt butter, kush grass, and water. They worship the supreme personality of Godhead for the good fortune of the child. Hare Krishna.
So of course, Mother Yashoda is worried for her son, for her Lala, and she wants to counteract it. So the Brahmins are chanting Vedic hymns to counteract any evil. And she is breastfeeding her child. And then the cart was again set up as it was before. Next.
The Brahmins were present at that time were all qualified because they were not envious. They never indulged in the untruthfulness. They were never proud, they were non-violent, and they never claimed any false prestige. They were all bona fide Brahmins, and there was no reason to think that their blessings would be useless. With firm faith in the qualified Brahmins, Nanda Maharaj took his child on his lap and bathed him with water mixed with various herbs while the Brahmins chanted hymns from the Rig, Yajur, and Samaveda.
So these Brahmanas are not ordinary Brahmins. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, they're not going to call, of course, they're going to call highly qualified Brahmins. And when a highly qualified Brahman gives a blessing, then that blessing is that much more potent. But if somebody is a bogus Brahman and he gives blessings, so we should not. Sometimes we see, there are bogus people, and then they try to scare people by cursing them. Oh, tumhara ye ho jayega, tumhara nuksan ho jayega, this will happen. So when somebody is bogus, their blessings or their curses are not going to work. When somebody is bona fide, only then their curse or their blessings is going to work. So these are very highly qualified Brahmins, and definitely their blessings are not useless. Next.
It is said that without being a qualified Brahmin, one should not read the mantras of the Vedas. Here is the proof that the Brahmins were qualified with all the Brahmical symptoms. Maharaj Nanda also had full faith in them, therefore they were allowed to perform the ritualistic ceremonies by chanting the Vedic mantras. There are many different varieties of sacrifices recommended for the different purposes, but the mantras are all to be chanted by qualified Brahmins. And because in this age of Kali, such qualified Brahmins are not available, all Vedic ritual sacrifices are forbidden. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore recommended only one kind of sacrifice in this age, namely the Sankirtan Yajna, or chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Mantra.
So without being a qualified Brahman, one should not read the mantras of the Vedas. So one should be careful. Nowadays it's become a fashion to recite mantras without any qualification, but one should not do that. What is the recommended sacrifice for this age of Kali? Is a chanting of the Maha Mantra, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has made it freely available for all of us. Next.
As the Brahmins chanted the Vedic hymns and performed the ritualistic ceremonies for the second time, Nanda Maharaj gave them huge quantities of grain and many cows. All the cows which were given in charity were covered with nice gold embroidered embroidered garments, and their horns were bedecked with golden rings. Their hooves were covered with silver plate, and they wore garlands of flowers. He gave so many cows just for the welfare of his wonderful child, and the Brahmins in return bestowed their heartfelt blessings, and the blessings offered by the able Brahmins were never to be baffled. Hare Krishna.
So what is this ritualistic ceremony that is going on for the second time? What is the occasion?
Krishna's birthday?
Yes, Krishna has turned 1 year old. So again, there is a ritualistic ceremony that is going on. Next.
Mataji, 1 second. The screen went over. Okay. One day, shortly after the ceremony, when Mother Yashoda was patting her baby on her lap, the baby felt too heavy, and being unable to carry him, she unwillingly placed him on the ground. After a while, she became engaged in the household affairs. At that time, a servant of Kans, known as Trinavarta, as instructed by Kans, appeared there in the shape of a whirlwind. He picked the child up on his shoulders and raised a great dust storm all over Vrindavan, covering everyone's eye. Within a few moments, the whole area of Vrindavan became so densely dark that no one could see himself or anyone else. During this great catastrophe, Mother Yashoda could not see her baby, who had been taken away by the whirlwind. She began to cry very piteously. She fell down on the ground exactly like a cow who has just lost her calf. When Mother Yashoda was so piteously crying, all the cowherd women immediately came and began to look for the baby, but they were disappointed and could not find him. Hare Krishna.
So now Yashoda is carrying Krishna. Now suddenly Krishna has become very heavy and she is not able to carry him, so she puts him on the ground. And then comes Trinavarta. So why do you think that Krishna made himself so heavy that Yashoda had to put him down?
Because this
For the winner to carry
Leela
him?
had to take place.
Because I'm sorry, I didn't get.
Because this Leela had to take place, because he had to die in the hands of Krishna, because his Udhar was to be coming, and this Leela had to take place.
Yeah, Leela had to take place, but Trinavarta could have taken Krishna even from Yashoda's arms, right? Why did he want to be down?
To protect his mother?
To protect his mother, exactly, yes, because this great wind has just come. This storm has just come into Vrindavan, and he wants that. Now Krishna knows past, present, and future. No, even though he's in the body of the baby, he knows past, present, and future. So he knows that Trinavarta is going to come, and he wants that Trinavarta does the least damage to Vrindavan and especially to his mother. So if Trinavarta comes and Krishna is still on Mother Yashoda's lap, then demons are so ruthless. No, they will just destroy anything that is coming on their way. They don't care. Just as how sometimes when ruthless robbers or killers, they want to attack, if there's anybody on the way, they just don't care. They will just go ahead and harm the person. So he knows that Trinavarta is a ruthless demon and he doesn't want Yashoda to be hurt in any way. Therefore, he makes himself so heavy that Yashoda had to put him down. Okay, so when Trinavarta has come, now everything has become very, very dark and people are not able to see each other also. So Yashoda was not able to see when Trinavarta came, and he just took Krishna and went away. Actually, when Trinavarta came, Krishna was not even inside the house. He purposely was in the courtyard, because again, if he's inside the house, then Trinavarta is going to cause more damage. And he made himself light again. So he made himself heavy so that Yashoda can put him down. Then he went to the courtyard and he made himself light so that Trinavarta can come and immediately do his job and take him and go away, causing least damage to the people of Vraj. Next.
The Trinavata demon went high into the sky with baby Krishna on his shoulder, but the baby assumed such a weight that suddenly he could not go any further and he had to stop his whirlwind activities. Baby Krishna made himself heavy and began to weigh down the demon. Catching hold of his neck, Trinavata felt the baby to be as heavy as a big mountain, and he tried to get out of his clutches, but he was unable to do so, and his eyes popped out from their sockets, crying very fiercely. He fell down to the ground of Vrindavan and died. The demon fell exactly like Tripurusara, Tripusara, Tripura Asura, who was pierced by the arrows of Lord Shiva. Trunavata hit a stone slab, and his limbs were smashed. His body became visible to all his inhabitants of Vrindavan.
So
All the
Krishna, yeah. So Krishna made himself very, very light so that Trinavata can do his job and take him high. And the Acharyas explained that he took him high 800,000 miles. So Krishna allowed Trinavata to take him higher and higher and higher and higher. The Acharyas explained there are two reasons for it. One was why Krishna allowed Trinavata to take him so high was because Krishna wanted to see a top view of Braj. That was his desire, to see how Braj is so beautiful from the top view. So he allowed Trinavata to take him. Another reason the Acharyas explain is because the damsels of the heavenly planets, they wanted to see Krishna close up. They wanted to have a close view of Krishna. Therefore, he allowed him to take him so high so that they could also see him from above. Now what Krishna has done, now that Krishna has been taken 800,000 miles. Now Krishna is thinking that, oh, but the people of Vraj, and especially my mother Yashoda, they are all very concerned for me. Yashoda has actually fainted because she is not able to find Krishna. Oh, where did Krishna go? Did this storm take Krishna away? So she is so worried that she actually faints. So now Krishna is concerned about the well-being of his mother. So now what Krishna does, again he starts to make himself heavy. So heavy, then light, then again he makes himself heavy. So he makes himself so heavy that now Trinavata is feeling the burden and he wants to put Krishna away. But what Krishna has done is he has put his arm around Trinavarta so firm that Trinavarta is not able to push Krishna away. Actually, Trinavarta, when he took Krishna 800,000 miles, initially Krishna put his arm around Trinavarta as though Krishna is afraid. He had not yet made himself heavy. So Trinavarta thought that yes, this height is good because the higher I go, the lesser the chances of this Krishna to survive. Because of course, Trinavarta, he is aware that this very same Krishna has killed Shakatasura and he has killed Putana in the past. So he wants to make doubly sure that he does the right thing. So he wants to take Krishna so high from where he is sure that Krishna will have zero chances of survival. So when he takes him 800,000 miles and Krishna puts his arm around him, he is thinking, Trinavarta is thinking that now Krishna is afraid. Now he is fearful. This is the right time for me to throw him down from here. But that time only Krishna makes himself so heavy that Trinavata is not able to push him down. And actually he holds his neck so tight that he completely chokes him. He is not even able to cry in pain. When Trinavat starts to fall, he is not able to scream out and cry out in pain. Why did Krishna choke him is because when Krishna was sucking the life air out of Putana, Putana started to scream and say that let me go, and her screaming disturbed the residents of Vraj. They were very frightful when they heard Putana screaming and shouting like that. No, so this time he doesn't want that this demon is going to scream and shout and cause disturbance to or cause any kind of agitation for the residents of Vraj. So he holds him so tight that he's completely choked and he's not even able to scream out in pain. And from that height of 800,000 miles, Trinavarta is thrown down. So just imagine if Trinavarta had not taken him 800,000 miles, he himself would have not fallen that distance of 800,000 miles. Because Trinavarta took the decision to take Krishna so much high, therefore he himself had to fall that distance. And of course, he has come crashing down and he has fallen from that height of 800,000 miles. So all his limbs were smashed completely. His limbs were all separated from his body. Next.
When the gopis saw the demons killed and the child Krishna very happily playing on his body. They immediately picked Krishna up with great affection. The cowherd men and women became very happy to get back their beloved child Krishna. At that time, they began to talk about how wonderful it was that the demon had taken away the child to devour, devour him, but could not do so. Instead, he fell down dead. Some of them supported the situation. This is proper because those who are too sinful die from their sinful reactions, and child Krishna is pious, therefore he is safe from all kinds of fearful situations. And we too must have performed great sacrifices in our previous lives, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, giving a great wealth in charity, and acting philanthropically for the general welfare of men. Because of such pious activities, the child is safe from all danger. Hare Krishna.
So Trinavarta has fallen down, and where is Krishna? Krishna is lying on top of Trinavarta, safe and sound. So the gopis go and collect him from there. And remember, Mother Yashoda is actually fainted. So only when they tell her that your Krishna is safe, only then she regains her consciousness. Next.
The gopis assembled there spoke among themselves. What sort of austerities and penance we must have undergone in our previous lives. We must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offered different kinds of sacrifices and charities, and performed many welfare activities for the public, such as growing banana trees and excavating wells. As a result of these pious activities, we have gotten back our child even though he was supposed to be dead. Now he has come back to enliven his relatives. After observing such wonderful happenings, Nanda Maharaj began to think of the words of Vasudeva again and again. Hare Krishna.
So what are these words of Vasudeva that Nanda Maharaj is thinking of again and again?
You had warned of the
Warned of the
demons that would be sent to kill.
Yes, he had warned that there going to be disturbance in Vrindavan, and therefore you have to protect your son. So therefore now Nanda Maharaj is thinking more and more that, oh yes, Vasudeva's words were so true. Next.
After this incident, when Yashoda once was nursing her child and patting him with great affection, there streamed a profuse supply of milk from her breast, and when she opened the mouth of the child with her finger, she suddenly saw the universal manifestation within his mouth. She saw within the mouth of Krishna the whole sky, including the luminaries, stars in all directions, the sun, moon, fire, air, seas, islands, mountains, rivers, forests, and all other movable and non-movable entities. When Mother Yashoda saw this, her heart began to throb, and she murmured within herself, "How wonderful this is!" She could not express anything, but simply closed her eyes. She was absorbed in wonderful thoughts. Krishna's, showing the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even after lying down on the lap of his mother, proves that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether he is manifested as a child on the lap of his mother or as a charioteer on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The connection of the impersonalist, that one can become God by meditation or by some artificial material activities, is herewith declared false. God is always God in any condition or status, and the living entities are always part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. They can never be equal to the inconceivable supernatural power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 7th chapter of Krishna, the salvation of Trinavarta. Hare Krishna.
So in this chapter, other than the killing of Shakatashura and Trinavarta, we see that Krishna also showed the universal form to Yashoda. There are 3 known times to us, at least, when Krishna has shown the universal form. One is this, when Krishna was drinking milk and she opened the mouth of Krishna and she sees the entire cosmic manifestation in his mouth. So this was the first time Krishna showed the universal form. Then the next time he showed the universal form is in the next chapter, where the famous pastime where Krishna is eating mud and Krishna says, open your mouth and show me that there is no mud in your mouth. And third time was on the battle of Kurukshetra. So let us see about the previous life of Shakatasura and Trinavarta.
Shaktasur in his previous life was a son of Yunaksha named Utaksha. He went into the hermitage of sage Lomas Muni and broke some trees, and he was cursed by the Muni to become bodiless. Releasing his mistake, I think he realizing his mistake, he fell at the Muni's feet and begged for mercy. The sage told him that from now on you would be known as Shaktasur. In the Dwapar Yuga, you would be touched by the foot of the Lord Krishna and would be liberated from the curse. Sh- Sahash Sahasraksha Sahasraksha was a powerful king of Pandu Desh. He was he was a devotee of Hari, follower of religion, performer of yagnas, giver of charity. Once he was enjoying pastimes on the banks of a river near a mountain with 1,000 wives. And it so happened that Durvasa Muni passed by. Sahasraksha did not come out of the water and pay respects to him, and therefore Durvasa Muni cursed him. O evil-eyed one, become a demon. Sahasraksha fell at it, fell at fell at feet of Durvasa Muni and asked for forgiveness. Durvasa Muni said, "The touch of Krishna will give you liberation." The Sahasraksha became Trinavata. Sorry about my pronunciation. Hare Krishna.
So Shakatasura was Utkacha and Trinavarta was Sahasraraksha in his previous lifetime. Both of them were cursed. One was cursed by Lomasha Rishi and the other was cursed by Durvasa. Durvasa, of course, we know he appears in the Mahabharata also, and we know that he is known for his short temper. So they were both cursed, but eventually that curse was a blessing in disguise because thanks to the curse, they were liberated by Krishna himself. So this is the previous life of Shakatasura and Trinavarta. Now, what anarthas do these two demons represent? So we saw Putana represents the anartha of the bogus guru. Shakatasura and Trinavarta also represent some anarthas. Let's read.
Shaktasur, the cart demon, represents the tendency to carry the burden of a cart loaded of old and new bad habits accumulated in this life and in previous lives. Lethargy, idleness, and stupidity. The load carrying mentality to do is due to material attachments, due to less dependency of Krishna and more dependency on material possessions for happiness. The mood created by thinking of baby Krishna breaks the heart or removes this evil.
Okay, wait. First we'll discuss Shakatasura. So Shakatasura represents the tendency to carry the burden of a cart load of old and new habits. So sometimes even when we take to Krishna consciousness, we are still carrying the load of old and new habits. So that's why when one is a new devotee or when one is a Kanishta Adhikari, we may feel attraction towards the old habits. We say, no, old habits die hard. So sometimes the old habits come back to us. Sometimes the desire may come for us to engage in something that we like to do when we were a non-devotee. So that is one thing. And the other thing is lethargy, idleness, and stupidity. Now, what is the reason for us still carrying the burden of old and new bad habits? It's because of material attachments. So a devotee here, because of material attachments and due to less dependence on Krishna. So the more we think that our money, our property, our contacts, our beauty, our fame is going to save us, that much we are depending less on Krishna. And that much, to that extent, we are materially attached. So we think that, okay, if I work hard and I accumulate money, then that is going to save me in the future. So we are not depending on Krishna's mercy. We are depending on material attachments. Then what is the other aspect? The other anartha that Shakatasura represents is lethargy, idleness, and stupidity. So yes, we have to depend on Krishna's mercy, but that doesn't mean we become lethargic and idle and stupid. We have to put in our best efforts. So whatever fruit we get or the result of any activity depends on Krishna's mercy plus our own endeavor plus time. In the past time, for example, in the Mahabharat war, Arjuna already knew that he is going to win the war. Krishna had already told him that you are going to win the war, even before the war had begun. But that didn't make Arjuna lazy. It's not that he was okay, I will just fight whatever I want to do. And he didn't become lazy, right? He put in his best effort and he fought the war to the best of his ability, even though he knew that the war is already won for him by Krishna. So even though we know that we are completely dependent on Krishna's mercy, still we have to put in our endeavor. Even in the Damodar Leela, we saw how Yashoda endeavors to tie Krishna, and she's trying and trying, and the pastime went on for 12 long hours, right from sunrise to sunset. She's trying to tie Krishna, but she's not able to bring the ropes together. And then we have that word in Sanskrit, no? If you read the pastime, drishtva parishramam. When Krishna saw, when he saw the drishtva, what did he see? Parishramam. When he saw the hard work of Yashoda, then Krishna agreed to be bound. So when we put in our best effort, when we sincerely try and put in our endeavor, then Krishna's mercy will manifest. Not that we are dependent on Krishna's mercy, so we become lazy, we don't go to work, we sit at home and we say, okay, whatever Krishna has to send, he will send. No, we don't have to become lazy. So we have to remember that Krishna's mercy plus our own endeavor, plus of course time. Examples, if a couple want to have a child, if they want to have a child, of course they have to unite. That is their own endeavor. Now, God also has to sanction. Or there are many couples who are medically fit, they are uniting, but they are not able to conceive. Why? Because the mercy is not there. The soul is not present in the semen of the man. So therefore, there is no conception. Third aspect is time. They have to wait for a 9-month gestation period before they can have the child in their arms. Or another effort is, if a farmer wants to have a good harvest, he has to sow the seed, he has to plow the field, he has to sow the seed, he has to take care of the plant, he has to put in his endeavor. Then there is daiva, there is the mercy of the Lord. It has to rain at the right quantity in the right time. So he puts in his effort, he also depends on the Lord's mercy. And then time, there is a certain harvesting period, no, before he can actually realize the harvest. So Shakatashara represents the tendency to carry the burden of cartload of old and new habits, which is because of material attachments. And the other anartha he represents is lethargy, idleness, and stupidity. So there are two anarthas that Shakatasura represents. So we must always remember that. See, when we pray to Krishna, we pray as though everything is depending on Krishna only and nothing else matters. So we pray like that. But when we put in our endeavor, then we have to put in our endeavor, we put in our best in such a way that as if Krishna's mercy is not going to work, we have to put in our best and everything depends on my endeavor. So that's how we have to bring the two things together. We should not become lazy thinking that, yes, Krishna will provide. At the same time, we should not think that because of my own endeavor, I am a self-made man. No, even that statement is stupid, because what about the mercy of the Lord? There are many people who are working hard. There are many people who are working even harder than us, who have more intelligence than us, but perhaps they are not as fortunate as we are. So therefore, we have to remember these factors. Now, remembering, talking about, see, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, no, that I carry what you lack and preserve what you have. So if we endeavor with full sincerity, whatever we are lacking, Krishna will provide. In Mahabharat, in the pastime of the Mahabharat war, when Arjuna had taken a vow that if I don't kill, what is the name of that person? Was it Jayadratha? Yeah, I think it was Jayadratha, who was responsible for the killing of Abhimanyu, because Jayadratha had the boon that he could put off 4 Pandavas for a whole day. And they took advantage of this boon that Jayadratha had, and they sent Arjuna away from the battlefield. And Jayadratha was fighting the other 4 Pandavas, and therefore they were not able to enter the Chakravyu, which Abhimanyu had entered. And then Abhimanyu was ruthlessly killed. No, he was simultaneously attacked by 6 warriors. So Arjuna, when he saw that the Kauravas have killed his son in such an unfair way, he took a vow that if I don't kill Jayadratha the next day, I will commit suicide. So Arjuna was killing so many. He had to face and fight so many warriors, and purposely Jayadratha was placed at the end of the army, because Arjuna will have to fight so many people before he can reach Jayadratha. And the Kauravas' plan was, we will prevent Arjuna from reaching Jayadratha so that he commits suicide and he's out of the war. So Krishna was fighting. He put in his best effort. He faced so many warriors, and finally he realized that the sun is going to set, and still he is not able to reach Jayadratha to kill Jayadratha. And of course, Krishna wants to save Arjuna, his pure devotee. So Krishna creates that eclipse-like situation. So where Arjuna put in his best effort, where Arjuna was lacking, Krishna put in. So Krishna created that eclipse-like situation. And then Jayadratha came in front thinking that, oh yes, the sun has set, the war has ended, and now Arjuna is going to commit suicide. And then he removed that eclipse-like situation, and then Arjuna was able to kill Jayadratha. So Krishna says, I carry what you lack. So where Arjuna was lacking, Krishna chipped in. But for that, Arjuna had put in his best effort, isn't it? With regard to this, there is this story which Srila Prabhupada says about Arjuna Acharya. Let's see the video.
There was a great devotee. So, when he was writing commentaries on this particular verse, Anannachintantamang Jidana Purjupasati Tesang Nittavijuktanam Yogachevang Mahamyaham. He saw that Tesang Nittavijuktanam Yogachevang Mahamyaham. The Lord says that I myself take the burden and take the load on my head, and I deliver that to my devotees what they require. He doesn't require to go outside. I myself go and deliver the goods, whatever he requires. This is written here. Now that's Arjuna Acharya. When he was writing commentaries, he thought, how is that? The Lord will come himself and deliver the goods? Oh, it is not possible. He might be sending through some agent. So he wanted to cut Bahami Aham. I bear the burden and deliver. He wrote in a way that I send some agent who will deliver. So that Arjuna Acharya went to take bath, and in the meantime, two boys, very beautiful boys, they brought some very nice food stuff, very large, in large quantity. And in India, there is a process to taking two sides burden on the bamboo, just like a scale. It is balanced. So these two boys brought some very highly valuable food stuff and grains and ghee and this thing. And his wife was there. And the boy said, my dear mother, Arjuna Acharya has sent these goods to you. Please take delivery. And oh, you are so nice boy, you are so beautiful boys, and he has given, and Acharya is not so cruel. How is that? He has given so much burden to you, and he is not kind enough. Oh, I was not taking, just see, he has bitten me. Here is his cane mark. His wife became very much astonished that Acharya is not so cruel. How he has become so cruel? So she was thinking in that way. Then all right, my dear boy, so come out and gave him shelter. And no, I shall go because Arjuna Acharya didn't come, he will chastise us. No, you sit down, take food stuff. He prepared food stuff, and then they went. And when Arjuna Acharya came back, then he saw that his wife is eating, because it is the system of an Indian family that after the husband has taken the food, the wife will take. So they don't take together. After the family members, the boys and the husband is sumptuously fed, then the housewife takes. So Arjuna Acharya, oh, you are taking food? Why? What is that? His wife said, Acharya, you have become so much cruel nowadays. What is that? There are two boys, very nice boys, they brought so many good stuff. You loaded on their head and they denied to take it and you have beaten them. I just said, no, I have never done this. How shall I do it? Then she described, was such a nice, beautiful boy, that Krsna has understood that because I wanted that God does not deliver, so he has delivered this ghost, and because I cut this alphabets that he does not give personally, so he has shown as beating one. There is an incident in southern India of Jonanacharya. That story is there. Here, the Lord says that I personally deliver. So, those who are in Krishna consciousness, those are actually busy in the matter of discharging their duties as a Krishna conscious person, they may be assured that so far their living condition is concerned or their comforts of life is concerned, that is assured by the Lord. Thank you.
Okay. So now let us read about the Anartha that Trinavarta represents.
The wireful demon Trinavarta, the killing of this wireful demon represents the destruction of pride in being learned and the consequent use of faulty arguments and dry logic, which gives rise to useless disputes and arguments, dry reasoning in the company of attached people, attached persons, being merciful on seeing the affection for the devotee to whom baby Krishna kills the whirlwind and removes the obstacles to worship.
So Trinavarta represents the destruction of pride in being learned and the consequent use of faulty arguments and dry logic, which gives rise to useless disputes and arguments. So let us see this in detail. Here, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu has written this article on his website, spiritualscientist.com. Here we will get a nice explanation on this.
Bhakti Vinod Thakur explains that Trinavarta refers to useless argumentations when he represents is the misuse of the intellectual faculties for arguing back and forth and on and on and on. If we consider Vrindavan to be like the heart, Krishna was present in Vrindavan, but Trinavarta came as a storm and took Krishna away. Similarly, for us, false, misleading, or pointless arguments can come as a storm and they can sweep Krishna out of our heart. They can create doubts, confusion, delusion, and we may just lose Krishna. Our intellectuals often have their own ideas, and with their own ideas, they can never come to any conclusion, and therefore it is said, Dharmasya Patvam Nityam Guhyam, that the essence or the truth of Dharma is in the literal translation of Guha would be cave. So it is hidden in the cave. It is hidden in the cave. Cave here refers to the heart, whose heart it is the heart of the great souls. Mahajanoyena Gatashto Panantha.
You should check Nicholas' basket then.
Okay, Teja, you need to mute.
Footsteps. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so
wait, let me check. That one, no? Friday.
Okay. I'm sorry. So see here, if we consider Vrindavan to be like the heart, Krishna is present in Vrindavan. So Krishna is present in our hearts as a super soul. But Trinavarta came as a storm and took Krishna away. So when we engage in misleading and pointless arguments, if we become great jnanis, if we become great intellectuals, we can quote from the Shastra, we know Sanskrit, and we can just recite shlokas very nicely. It will lead to pride, okay? It leads to pride and it leads to pointless arguments. And that can sweep Krishna out of our heart. So what Krishna wants, he sees bhakti, right? He sees the emotion. He's not seeing if whether we are great intellectuals. See, many people, they conduct this course of memorizing the Gita shlokas, which is very nice. But if you see most of them, and they don't know the meaning of the shlokas. So what is the point? We don't want to become great intellectuals. We want to become great devotees. We want to become good devotees. So see this statement here, dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhyatam. The essence or truth of dharma is hidden. Where is this truth hidden? It is hidden in the heart of the great souls. This actually, this statement was spoken by Yudhishthir Maharaj, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu re-quoted this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Let's read the translation.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, dry arguments are inconclusive. A great personality with opinion does not differ from others in not consider a great sage. Simply by studying the Vedas, which are vegetated, one cannot come to the right at which religious principles are understood. The solid truth of religious principle is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastra confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajans advocate. Purport: this is a verse spoken by Yudhishthira Maharaj in Mahabharata 1 Parva 3:13.117. Hare Krishna.
So simply by studying the Vedas, which are variegated, so there is so much variety, there is so much content, one cannot come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. So there are so many, I mean, we are just with, I mean, when we did the Bhagavad Gita, is just 700 shlokas, isn't it? And it took us 18 months or so. But there is, it's a very small drop in the ocean of Vedic literature, because there is a lot of information available, and it is not possible to come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. So how can we understand them? If we cannot understand by reading the Vedas, how are we going to understand? So where is all this information actually hidden? It is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. So because there is a pure devotee, he can transfer it to the heart of another sincere seeker. And this is the reason why we have to surrender to a bona fide spiritual master. Just by learning all the scriptures on my own is not going to make me a self-realized person. This is a continuity of what Chaitanya Charan Prabhu writes in his article. Let's read.
Broadly speaking, there are two main distinctions on the spiritual path. One is desire and the other is doubt. Krishna tells many times in the Bhagavad Gita, offer your mind. I think that's offer your mind and intelligence to me, and then you will come to me. So from the mind, desire springs up, and from the intelligence, doubt springs up. In that way, the mind and the intelligence can both distract us from Krishna. So Krishna is saying, offer both the mind and the intelligence to me. Now there is a difference between desire and doubt in terms of the effect that they have on us. Generally, if desires start dragging us here and there, they make us feel weak. But if the desire makes us indulge in wrong things, they humiliate humiliate us, or at least they humble us, and we actually feel the need of Krishna. But when doubts come, actually they make us feel superior to others. If we are in associations with the devotees and we start getting doubts, then we may start thinking all these people are just sentimental. They don't use their intelligence. This is solid. These are solid questions. They don't get these questions. What kind of brain do they have? So we start thinking that we are actually more intelligent than others when we have doubts. and thus the doubts distract us. But because doubts can also create a superiority within us, so the disturbance that can be caused can be greater. It is interesting that doubt on the spiritual path is considered to be the spiritual weakness, but among intellectuals and scholars, doubt is considered to be an intellectual strength. They consider it as a capacity to doubt that they don't believe in anything and everything. They consider the capacity of doubt to be their strength. Hare Krishna.
So what are the two main distractions on the spiritual path, he says?
Doubt and desire?
Doubt and desire. So when we have desire and we may engage in the wrong things, then it will humble us. We feel bad, we feel guilty, and we feel the need for Krishna. But when doubt comes, we may tend to feel superior. I am the one who's asking all the questions in the class. I am the one who's coming up with very intelligent questions. So sometimes the questions are actually not, I mean, it's not that we should not ask questions. Of course, Arjuna asked questions and Krishna answered. Maharaj Parikshit asks questions and Sukadeva Goswami answers them. But these doubts can create a sense of superiority within us, and it can lead to unnecessary arguments. That is what we have to avoid. See, there is more clarification in the next paragraph. Let's read.
To doubt requires intelligence, but to keep doubting is not intelligence. Say if you are going to go to a doctor at that time, if we want to evaluate, is the doctor good? Does what the doctor say make sense? We need not believe in anything and everything what the doctor tells us. If I have got stomach upset and the doctor says you have an amputate, you have to amputate your leg, they won't make any sense to me. So it is good to have some doubts. But eventually we have to put faith. If we want to be treated and if we keep doubting everything, every single doctor that we go to, then we will ourselves stay sick. So after some time, we have to take some faith, take a leap of faith, or we could say take a gulp of faith, take a pill or tonic of or medicine or whatever. So doubt is required, but eventually we have to act. So the problem with false argument is that one just keeps doubting permanently. This is not right. Hare Krishna.
So what is the example here? The example is if we go to a doctor and the doctor tells us, okay, this is the problem you have and you have to take this treatment. One may think that, okay, I want a second opinion. I don't want to trust the doctor. So there is a doubt. So we take a second opinion, or we may take a third opinion. At some point, we are going to have to put some faith in some doctor. If we continue to doubt every single doctor, when are we going to take the treatment? So unnecessarily arguing back and forth continuously, constantly, then it means that we are going to continue to remain materially diseased. If we want to be cured of that material disease, at some point, of course, we have to put in some faith. We have to put in some faith. Next.
I will conclude that with one pastime of Prabhupada. Prabhupada was in Vrindavan and the devotees had a debate over there. Tamal Krishna Maharaj was a servant of Prabhupada. One group of devotees said actually the only difference between Krishna and Balram is in complexion. Another devotee said no, actually only Krishna is the Lord and Radharani. Balram is not. This argument went on and became heated. Then they went to Prabhupada and one party said, Prabhupada, only difference between Krishna and Balaram is in the complexion. Prabhupada said, yes, that is right. The other devotee said, but only Krishna is the Lord of Radharani. Prabhupada said, yes, that is right. Then devotee said, Prabhupada, both of them can't be right. Prabhupada said, that is right. Laughter. Then they asked Prabhupada, then what is right? Prabhupada said that you decide. Laughter. So Prabhupada just let it go over there. So it is not that in the process of bhakti we have to make Krishna the hostage of our intelligence and extract answer for every question. If we just keep practicing bhakti, the answers will be revealed in due course. If we get too much into intellectual analysis, we may think that we are such a big intellectual that we can quote from various scriptures, but all that we are doing is just like Trunavata. We are simply increasing the height from which we will fall. When we quote all these shastras, we will become very proud and argumentative. And all that is happening by this is our heart is getting dry. Arguments sap the rust from the heart. So if we can avoid this pitfall of argumentation, we will have so much energy available for reaching out to others and also for reaching out to Krishna in our hearts. Thus, we will enrich our heart with devotion and also the hearts of many others. Hare Krishna.
So very
Mataji,
nice.
I have a question on this paragraph, but I'm going to ask you at the end of the class.
Okay. So very nice pastime of Srila Prabhupada, and we understand how Trinavarta took Krishna higher and higher. So like that, when we become intellectuals, then we become proud, and then we are going higher and higher because our pride is taking us higher and higher. And we have this proverb in English, no, pride comes before a fall. So we are going higher and higher. We are becoming proud because of our intellectuality. So what happens? The heart is becoming dry. The bhakti is disappearing from our heart, because when there is pride, there can be no bhakti. Where there is bhakti, there cannot be any pride. So Trinavarta went higher and higher, and then eventually he fell down. So like that, if we are going to only focus on intellectuality and we are going to forget about bhakti, which is the bottom line in Krishna consciousness, then we will also be falling from the height. So what we have to do is, let's not use our energy in becoming intellectuals and becoming great jnanis. Let us use our energy to practice bhakti. And with that, when we practice bhakti, then we can also reach out to the others. We can also touch the hearts of others also. Because what we need for preaching is it's the purity in oneself that is going to what do you call it? That is going to inspire the others. So when we see something that's pure, it automatically appeals to us. No, pure water, pure air. We like to go on vacation on a hill station because the air is fresh and pure. So purity is something that always appeals to us. So when somebody sees the purity in your heart, automatically another person, when you try to preach to somebody else, the person will be will want to hear from you. But if you're a great jnani, a great intellectual, and you can quote from shastras from here and from there, but you're not pure in the heart, it will not appeal to another person. So sometimes what happens when we try to preach to people, not everybody is necessarily going to be willing to listen to shastric arguments. Not everybody is ready to hear, okay, what does the Gita say here? What does the Bhagavatam say? Then not everybody has a liking for hearing from the Shastras. So what we have to do, we, instead of arguing with them and taking and worsening the situation, we give them that which will appeal to them. Okay, somebody is not ready to listen to philosophy, give him what is going to appeal to him. Give him some prasad. He will definitely appreciate some prasad. So therefore, there is no point in arguing with people who are not interested in hearing from the Shastras. If you want to preach, then you reach out, you give the person what the person will appreciate. So this is a key lesson for us in our own spiritual life, and also if we want to preach to the others. So with that, we come to the end of today's class. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna, Mata. You already answered my question when you said that if we have pride, the bhakti cannot remain in our heart, and if we have bhakti, then the pride cannot remain in our heart. So you already answered my question that I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Radha. So I want to say that next Saturday we will not have class because we have the Rath Yatra in Santiago, and I have a few things to be attending to before I can go for the Rath Yatra, which is why we will not be able to have class next Saturday. We will resume in 2 weeks from now. Those who are in Santiago, please definitely come attend the Rath Yatra, pull the ropes of Lord Jagannath. If we pull the ropes of Lord Jagannath now, then Lord Jagannath will pull us towards him at the time of our final exam. So please make the maximum use of this opportunity and come and pull the ropes of Lord Jagannath. Okay.
Mataji, may I connect for the next Saturdays, except next Saturday, but the following
yes.
Saturdays?
Yes, Mataji. You are welcome for all our classes. It's the same link, same time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are the great you are great representative of Lord Jagannath. Please tell Mr. Jagannath to reach on time, otherwise we will pull the rope and he will not be available there.
No, no. No. See, the Lord will never forget what we do for him. So even the smallest of service is taken a proper note of. He notes it down and everything is counted for. So don't worry. If you do it, definitely he will remember you. Okay, so Shruti Priya Mataji, you have something to say?
Yes, just one last thing, that it is very important that we can attend the Ratha Yatra, taking into account that sometimes we're even saving money to go to India to the Ratha Yatra, and now for the first time we have something so close that I know that maybe for some of you it's like 1 hour far, but take into account that for the rest of the people, our dream is 4 days trip to go to a Ratha Yatra. So I really want us to realize that we're very lucky to have a Ratha Yatra so close that is just 1 hour far.
Yes. See, the mercy of Prabhupada is that he has planted the mercy of Jagannath all over the world. Previously, Jagannath Rath Yatra was held only in Jagannath Puri, and one had to make a special trip to go to and visit the city. Some people had to travel from out of the country, but Prabhupada has taken this festival all over the world. So for us, it is so close. Here in Chile, which is the last country, if you take the world map, there is no country beyond Chile. Even here, we are having the mercy of Lord Jagannath. So no matter where you are in Santiago, please put in the effort and come and pull the ropes of Lord Jagannath and be unlimitedly blessed.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Namaste Pranam. Please share the photographs or videos from the Yatra, please.
Definitely. It's also an Ekadasi here in Santiago on Saturday. So it's that much mercy is multiplied that much more because we are going to pull the carts of Lord Jagannath on an Ekadasi. So there's definitely share the photos.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can you also share that little Prabhupada story where this Brahmin had cut some line on the Bhagavad Gita? Can you share that video too? So cute.
Yes, I will send the YouTube link in the group. Definitely. Okay, Shruti Priya Mataji, you want to say something? You have your hand raised.
I forgot to yeah, okay.
Okay. What else do we have to discuss? All right, so next Saturday, no class, please remember, and I will see you in 15 days from now if Krishna so sanctions. Till then, have a nice week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम। श्रील प्रभुपाद, श्रील गुरुदेव की जय। जी सनम माताजी की जय। श्री कृष्णा की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद, श्रील गुरुदेव की जय। श्रीमती श्री राधा रानी की जय। थैंक यू माताजी, अनंत कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम टू योर लोटस फीट। हरे कृष्णा।
Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining. Thank you, Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna.